The Beef-O-Brady's in Cape Coral is trying to help by becoming a grocery store, essentially. The owner says a lot of restaurants are closed, no longer buying food from the ready distributors, so he's buying what people might need in bulk in a video call. We actually saw a shopper picking up their order.
Everybody should be really using curbside pickup for everything we do at this point, knowing what we know. So, of course, this is a safer option, and to be honest, it's more convenient. You can place your order ahead of time, you come. I did not wait at all, and I was able to collect my items, and I'm going to go right back home.
They've got that updated grocery list on Facebook for Beef-O-Brady's, and shoppers can actually call in their grocery order and then schedule curbside pickup for locations on Pine Island Road and Del Prado Boulevard.
And a shoe company wants to make sure our healthcare workers are comfortable while caring for patients around the clock. UFO Shoes, a Boston-based company, is donating shoes to healthcare workers all over the U.S. Their shoes are sanitary and have antimicrobial properties, so they can be washed between shifts. Well, today, the company, and that's Fort Myers Mayor Randy Henderson, delivered 100 pairs of these shoes to Lee Memorial Hospital.
The shoes will benefit the healthcare workers who are rendering care, and this is exactly what America is all about, is human beings coming together to help a difficult situation with this COVID-19 epidemic.
For more information on the shoes, you can go to ufos.com.
Tomorrow and Sunday, the Boys and Girls Club of Collier County is going to be serving breakfast and lunch to the community. This is going to be done drive-through style while maintaining the social distancing, of course. Breakfast and lunch will be served together. Don't eat it all at the same time, but take the lunch for later. It starts at 11:30 at the Bolt campus in Immokalee in eastern Collier County, ends at 1 p.m. or until they run out of food. On-the-go kits will also be given out with supplies to help with virtual learning. We know it's a challenge. Things like paper, crayons, glue, notebooks, and coloring books will be included. There's a limit of 1 kit per family, please.
It was a beautiful day here in Southwest Florida. Great way to close out the work week with sunny skies and temperatures reaching the upper 80s to around 90 in many locations. And it looks like we have a continuation of this very warm weather here heading into the weekend. More sunshine, a little more humidity, a few clouds as well. Chances for rain, very small here as we go into the next few days. High temperatures this afternoon reaching 90 in Immokalee. 89 at Page Field, 86 in the Cape. Naples getting up to 84 this afternoon. We had a southwesterly wind coming off the Gulf, so it was a little bit cooler there, but we're expecting, again, those temperatures to continue on the warm side here as we go into tomorrow afternoon and into Sunday. Now, as far as radar is concerned, we did see some showers that popped up across inland Collier County this afternoon with a sea breeze collision, but most areas, though, stayed dry. Upper 60s right now in Port Charlotte, 69 there, 71 in Punta Gorda, 75 for the Cape. Fort Myers out at Page Field, and Naples at 75, as well as Golden Gate 72 out towards Immokalee. And those winds have come down some now, light out of the northwest at about 3 to 5 miles per hour. Forecasted tomorrow morning, partly cloudy skies, temperatures in the mid to upper 60s as we go into the afternoon. Again, we're expecting highs to reach the middle to upper 80s once again. And really overall for the weekend, the forecast looks good. 65 overnight tonight, up into the upper 80s here for your Saturday, and then mid 80s coming up on Sunday. Notice we have some high clouds just off to our west, and you can see some of those clouds that are kind of streaming in from the west there through Texas, Oklahoma, and the parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. Some showers and storms there in South Texas, and even some severe weather going on here across parts of the Texas Hill Country. But those high clouds are associated with a disturbance that's going to track in a northwesterly flow that continues to move its way across Florida. And that's going to send some clouds our way here into tomorrow. But more importantly, as we go into next week, that trough of low pressure that brought us the brief cool down is going to lift out, and we're going to start to see the pattern return to more summer-like here, especially as we go into next week. We're going to see those temperatures crank up into the upper 80s to around 90 degrees here by the middle part of next week with higher humidity. So it looks like most of next week will be on the sticky side, at least stickier than it's been. Here's your forecast overnight tonight. You see predictors showing some of those high clouds that we've been talking about. And then notice tomorrow afternoon, we could see a couple of showers popping up inland across the region. So the best chance of that will be east of Highway 29 across Hendry and Collier County. Otherwise, looks like most of the showers will stay over on the East Coast. And again, the same thing on Sunday afternoon, slight chance for an inland shower, otherwise remaining dry. Few clouds overnight, 65. Comfortable temperatures expected, 88 for tomorrow with sunshine, west-southwest wind 5 to 10. Here's your 7-day forecast. And you can see we stay in the mid-80s here into the weekend, and then that summer-like pattern takes over into next week, upper 80s to around 90. Notice the overnight temperature is getting warmer. Looks like overnight lows in the low 70s here by the middle part of next week as the humidity starts to creep back up. But really a fantastic weekend shaping up. Only a very slim chance for a shower inland. Otherwise, get out and enjoy it. Should be a nice one.
Thank you, Derek. Doing the weather from home tonight. You cannot cut back on the car care, even though you're probably cutting back on the car time. The steps you can take to protect your car, even though you're probably using it less often. Next.
February.
A lot more people are starting to wear gloves, but the folks at the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office are warning you they only do so much good. They want to remind you a glove is not a good substitute for washing your hands on a regular basis, or if you keep touching things like your face, your phone, or your keys. But if you are going to wear the gloves, just remember to wash your hands very well beforehand. Dispose of them anytime you start doing something else, and then carefully remove them. Since most of us are trying to stay home as much as possible, it might mean your car is parked for a while. AAA has got some tips to prevent any issues, so when you get back on the road, you're not like, now it won't start, or I got a flat tire. So they say go ahead and start your vehicle every couple of days. Let it run for a few minutes just to keep your battery charged. Add an additional 10 psi to each tire to prevent any flat spots on the tires. Prop that windshield wiper arm up so the blades don't get stuck to the glass, especially if it's outside. The sun's just going to glue it on there. It's going to be gunk. Don't use the parking brake, and if your car is parked outside, it will help if you get a sunshade.
All right, if you're thinking about canceling that visit with the doctor, listen up. Why doctors say those suffering from a chronic illness shouldn't cancel their appointments.
Live from the station that's in your corner, you're watching Fox 4 News at 10.
While the coronavirus has most of us staying home as much as possible, the doctors want to remind you that doesn't mean you should cancel every single one of your appointments. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Patrick Nolan.
And I'm Jane Monreal. As Fox 4's Leslie Delisbour explains, there are some appointments you need to get to now, no matter what.
Because on top of the coronavirus, we got to take care of your chronic conditions that you're living with every day.
Dr. Rick Wax with the Millennium Health Group says when it comes to visiting the doctor's office during the COVID-19 pandemic, it's essential for those living with a chronic disease.
If you suffer from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, diabetes, heart disease, it's important that you come to the doctor. We know corona attacks people with chronic diseases more easily and makes them more sick.
And for those of us who aren't, give your doctor a heads up before rushing in.
It's very difficult for some people to know when it's important to be seen, when it could be corona and when it may be just allergies or a sinus infection. So the most important thing is to give us a holler, give us a call.
No matter how you call, Dr. Wax says be sure that you do.
Or at least do a telehealth visit with us. We need to make sure your labs are okay, your breathing's okay, that you're up to date with your medicines. We're here for you to make sure that you're doing well health-wise with your chronic conditions.
Adding COVID-19 is scary, but the decline in your overall health could be much worse.
Probably more scary than the coronavirus is not taking care of your diabetes, your emphysema, COPD, heart disease, and we need to make sure those diseases are taken care of or you're going to run into a problem.
And for those heading to the doctor's office, Dr. Wax has some advice.
But I don't want you stopping at a store, stopping talking to friends. Keep your distance, come to the doctor, and we'll take care of your health.
In Fort Myers, Leslie Delisbour, Fox 4, in your corner.
People aboard two Holland America cruises, that is, now docked at Port Everglades, are making their way back home. Both ships carried 6 passengers and crew members. The Zaandam and the Rotterdam were held offshore for a while. At least 8 people tested positive for the virus, and we do know 4 people died. But there's no confirmation it was from the virus yet. Most of the passengers are being taken home. Private buses took passengers to empty airports where they then boarded charter flights home. About 10 critically sick passengers were taken to Florida hospitals.
This is America. We've never left anybody alone. We've never turned our backs on our own members in the armed services and first responders or any aspect in our community. And we didn't want to start that here in Broward County.
Another ship, the Coral Princess, is expected to arrive in Florida tomorrow.
Stay at home. That is the official order from the governor's office tonight for anyone except those considered, quote, essential employees. Tonight, a local labor attorney says some of those essential workers, though, can stay at home too and get paid to do it. Fox 4's Rachel Lloyd is walking you through who's protected under this new executive order and who's not.
It's basically for people who have health concerns, who are caring for someone who has COVID-19 or can't find a child care provider and work from home. From doctors and nurses to law enforcement to delivery drivers, essential employees are putting their lives on the line to keep our country going. But labor attorney Benjamin Yormack says some of them may not have to.
Our senior citizens and those with significant underlying medical conditions, they ought to be staying at home. And that should apply whether or not the business is essential.
Yormack says Governor Ron DeSantis' executive order signed Thursday allows even essential employees to take paid medical leave. He says it's the first time that the Family Medical Leave Act requires paid time off. So that's why a lot of employees are calling him.
I can certainly envision many businesses not being real thrilled at having to pay employees to sit at home during this crisis, particularly where their business isn't operating and they're losing money.
You could qualify for 30 days of medical leave, including 2 weeks of pay if you have a respiratory or heart condition, a doctor orders you to quarantine, you're caring for someone who has coronavirus, or your child's school or daycare has closed and you can't do your job from home. But Yormack says healthcare workers don't have an easy out right now.
If you're in healthcare right now, you're the functional equivalent of a firefighter, and we have a massive forest fire.
And for those who qualify for paid leave, their employer has to let them return to work or they could face a lawsuit.
If you've got 5 employees, 3 of them take the medical leave, 2 of them don't, but the 3 that do all get fired, that would be an example of retaliation.
Yormack added employers could be protected if the position no longer exists because of an economic downturn. He also says employers and employees should document everything right now, just in case they end up in court. Rachel Lloyd, Fox 4 in your corner.
Florida's fresh produce farmers say they face a bleak future as COVID-19 precautions dry up demand. In particular, Florida's blueberry crop is getting hit right before peak harvest. Grower associations estimate a 70% drop in sales compared to a year ago. Prices down at least 30%. The trouble, retailers and consumers are preferring non-perishables to fresh produce. Virus protection also shuttering restaurants and other bulk buyers. Plus, the produce actually getting to grocery shelves are being undercut by cheaper products from foreign nations. Ag Commissioner Nikki Fried says the weekend market has led some growers to leave produce in the field to rot.
Take the money that we have, that people are getting in their stimulus checks, go out, buy fresh produce, and make sure it's fresh from Florida. That's a way that we're going to make sure our economy survives.
In a letter, Fried is now urging the USDA to use purchase powers to connect state produce with food banks and other meal programs, the money coming from $9 billion set aside in the recently passed CARES Act. Tonight, as cases of COVID-19 continue to rise in our state, medical professionals and first responders are fighting a battle that increasingly seems impossible for them not to fall victim to. But just how many medical workers have tested positive for the virus in our state, no one really knows. For Your Corner's Katie LaGrone explains why.
The war continues for medical workers across the country.
We do have a few healthcare providers who do have COVID-19.
And it's far past hitting home.
These deaths, they're starting to be personal. I know we lost an ER nurse.
Do you guys feel like your lives are at stake here?
Absolutely.
In Florida, Martin Peebles, a registered Florida nurse and union representative for nurses, is speaking out about the desperate conditions and fear of exposure he and nurses like him are facing, with no end in sight.
There's a lot of pressure on them to return to work, even though they fear that they may have it and that they've been exposed.
But as the risk to first responders is acknowledged at the state's highest level,
healthcare workers are obviously at an elevated risk.
Just how many medical workers in our state have tested positive for COVID-19 remains anyone's guess.
I don't know how many of them have tested positive. I don't think it's been a lot that have come through our system.
But it really is astonishing that we haven't asked this question a long time ago.
The lack of tracking of cases involving first responders on the front lines Peebles feels is another failure in state efforts to stop its spread.
It'd be pretty obvious. How are you going to manage something if you're not tracking it?
The overall number of positive COVID-19 cases in our state has now surpassed 8,000, more than tripling in just 1 week.
You just cannot avoid it as a physician.
Which is why Dr. Stephen Rosenberg, a South Florida dermatologist and former member of the state's Board of Medicine, believes it's too late to start tracking cases involving medical workers now.
Initially, that would have been very helpful, but right now, with the number of cases, it probably won't make a difference. At some point, every physician is going to be exposed to somebody who is COVID positive.
Katie Legrone, Fox 4, in your corner.
One man is in the hospital tonight after the semi overturned and caught fire. You can see that there happening this morning on Florida's Turnpike in Jupiter. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue says about 200 gallons of diesel fuel spilled onto the highway. Firefighters put out the flames. Crews worked to clear the debris. No word yet on the man's condition.
An arrest in a shooting that happened at a Fort Myers strip club in January. Happened at Babe's on Cleveland Avenue. 2 men were injured, those yellow markers marking the spots where the shell casings were. The men survived. Police say the gunman took off in a car, lost control and crashed and then ran off. Today, federal marshals in the Tampa Bay area arrested this man they suspect was the gunman, Jonathan Reed. He's charged with attempted first-degree murder and aggravated battery.
And Lee County deputies say our streets are a little safer tonight after they arrested a suspected drug dealer. Yesterday, detectives executed a search warrant at Ariel Hall's home on Calvin Avenue in Lehigh Acres. Her husband's a convicted drug dealer currently serving a 5-year sentence. Detectives found more than 20 grams of drugs, including fentanyl and cocaine. They also found a stolen handgun and more than $10,000 in cash. Hall is now facing several drug trafficking charges. Giving binge watchers the ultimate gift, how HBO is hoping to encourage people to stay home during this pandemic.
And we want to give you a live look at how quiet Southwest Florida is tonight. This is Pine Island Road in Southwest Cape Coral. The camera you're seeing is affixed atop our studios in Cape Coral as that safer at home order is taken seriously. Very few folks out. Our coverage continues right after this.
Sanctuary.
Hi everyone, Lauren Petrelli here. A lot has changed over the past week pertaining to the coronavirus, but one thing is for certain. We will be hanging around our homes for a little bit longer, and that could be a scary thought, especially if the kids are already starting to get bored. Don't worry, I caught up with Fox 4's Toy Insider to find ways to help keep those kids entertained. As the days drag on, the kids might be feeling a little stir-crazy. Toy Insider Lori Schatz says there are simple ways to cure that cabin fever. She says the hair doables might do the trick.
This is a whole scented variety. They come in this great travel case. So inside is one surprise girl. There's 39 of them to collect. There's 11 surprises inside, which are all their accessories and stuff.
It's not Thursday.